All right. I think we're finally ready to go. Welcome everyone to number 12 ZLS. We're calling this episode Friends Plus Plus. Just going through what we did yesterday real quick. We introduced the concept of friends. We tried to use test-driven development. We'll kind of continue this today. The idea is we wrote some tests first, and then we tried to uh, build stuff that satisfied those tests. We'll see some of that in action today. I actually just started up Cypress, so let me move Cypress over here while we're talking about this. So I'm all discombobulated from my restart there. But yeah, we're doing good now. Um, so yeah, we set up our tests. That's pretty much what we did here. We created a new feature module. We added a friends list component. We made a service to get our friends user data from the API. We created an NGRX slice that's going to hold our users' data. I actually think at some point down the line we may want two discrete slices, one that's users and one that's friends, where friends is just like the friend slice would really just be an array of friend user IDs, and then this could link to you could just tie this together to like the user slice. But I don't think we'll get to that today. Then we jumped into the backend. We created a feature module for our backend. We made a router to get our friends. We added some middleware that we're using inside of this endpoint down here. But the idea is we're going to get our friends for a given user, the user that comes in on a request, and we're going to attach their friends to the request context. And then we use that middleware to filter out some non-friend authored posts. So I don't think we actually got to this last piece, but we'll see. Today, well, first off, in between streams, inside of our Cypress plugins directory, I made a few fixes to imports and exports. So just heads up if you're following along with the code. Just did some quick stuff. Had some bad module exports in there. Just clean that up. But today, first thing we want to do is we want to fix some of the things. So I was trying to figure out how to do like a not contain. I figured it out. Here it is. So we'll go fix that in our tests. Then we're going to add on to our tests to see. I think we have some use cases we're not exercising yet, where we still have some bugs in our code where depending on the course of actions, like someone may be able to see on screen some posts that they shouldn't have access to. So we'll look into doing that and just build out these test cases. And then I think these are the things we'll probably have to fix. We'll probably want to fix our content post API to make sure we're using the attached friends middleware. And I think we also have a bug inside of our NGRX stuff where on a lockout, the user's logging out, like we're clearing out their access token, but all their data is still being held in the store. So if another user comes in and logs in after that, they can kind of see stuff, which is kind of a weird use case. Normally you wouldn't expect two different users to be using the same machine, but it happens. Sometimes you have siblings or something like that. So we'll go and make sure that's working correctly. So I'm gonna come over here. Oh, great, and we have an error here. Let's see. What's going on with this? Let's try running the app spec. I don't know what that error is about, but let's see. Tests are loading. Oh, I think probably when I restarted, I didn't restart my MongoDB. So my Mongo daemon. Let's start that up real quick. MongoD, and I'm just doing this because I know it's going to fail because I need to grab this option. I always forget what it is. It's path, db path. There we go. So we're going to do MongoD with db path equals // data.db. That's just where I'm storing my data. So yeah, if you're following along, probably just using the default MongoDB destination will be fine. I think there's something that came out with one of the more recent versions of Mac OS where the default location for Mongo all of a sudden doesn't work, so you may have to specify your own. But let me try. I'm going to start up a new terminal, just make sure I can get into the Mongo. Show DBs. Okay, so here's our stuff. Things are working now. Let's try running it again. I don't know what that arrow was about that was showing up there, but it's okay. Seems to be working. Okay, here we go. So we're able to reset the database. Login does not seem to work. That shouldn't be happening. Let's see what's going on with this. If we go to our task, let's make sure we started it. Topology is closed, please. Oh, my API broke down. Let's try just restarting this up. And fun times when your computer just decides to reset. I don't know if there's much I could do about that. But here we are. We'll get there. Compiling. I wonder if resetting has anything to do with it. Everything's going so slow, it seems like. Let me open up my activity monitor, make sure I don't have any row crap running around. Let's move over here. No. Let's move over here while we're waiting for Cypress to load up. Alright, so here we are. Let's go run our tests. We should see the first one pass. I think we'll probably see both of them pass, actually. The only thing I'm thinking is we need to add on some more stuff to our second test, but it should pass now. Let's see. Okay, first one passed. Cool. And when we logged in, we only saw the friend posts. So let's go to this. The first one, let's open up our app spec. So first thing we want to do, I think we're probably not working it. We want to, so we have this text right here. We should make sure it doesn't contain this. Let's make sure that, I think we'll probably actually fail this test after we do it properly. We'll say side.get pre dot should, and here we go, just not dot contain. Like so that's our one test, and then we want to make sure our friend list, we're not getting that one friend, so we'll say let's just duplicate this, grab this. Don't really need this UL. Boom. Oops. And you know, I'm going to just take these and move them up here. I think that should see, because I kind of expect this friend list to be correct. I don't expect the posts to be correct. I think we'll probably see a post here. We shouldn't. Let's see. Go here. Did I have? Oh, yeah. I just typed this wrong. So right here, it should contain our test friend, but we'll put here it should then add a string not dot contain. There we go. Let's try that. All right, so you can see we passed this expectation that it should not contain our test non-friend. We see he's not there, or we see they're not there. I think let's look at, let's make sure we're seeing this right. This. No, I didn't want that. Yeah, test. Yeah, that matches. Okay, so that should match. So we don't see our test non-friend in the friends list down here, but we do see their post. So I think this one right here, this one should not be visible. And so we're not doing that yet. So let's go in. We're kind of going to jump around on our markdown file today. So we're working on this one, but I think this really affects this piece right here. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to go to our main.ts. Let's go to our API. So for our content posts, we want to make sure they're authorized in order to get stuff. I think if we go to the router, we really want for get posts and get posts by ID to use our new middleware. We had, what did we call that? Attach friends, I think. Let's see if we can import this. Import attach friends from this is at Zach live stream backend friends. There we go. We want to attach friends here. So the idea is we have this middleware already, we've already written, that's going to kind of attach friends to the request context. But now, since we have our friends, we want to make sure for both of these, let's start with get post by ID. This one's not actually being used in our test right now, but let's fix it anyways. We're going to come in and we're going to say first off, our user is equal to the request as any dot user, as this is a Mongo user, right? And then we're going to have const friends equals request as any dot friends, and this is going to come in as a Mongo user array, I believe. Cool. So now we have our user and our friends, and we're going to want to create something from them. We're going to call this the acceptable author IDs, right? So we'll start out with our user in an array, and we'll concat into that our friends. And then we'll take this and we'll map it. So this is now an array of Mongo users. So we'll just say, we'll take that user and we'll map it to their ID. Right, so this will give us a list of our acceptable author IDs. And so here in the find one, we'll have the ID, but we'll also add, I guess we need an and here. So let's do $and. So this will be one, and the other will be, we'll take our acceptable author IDs. Actually, we're going to start with an or here. So $or, and now we'll take our acceptable author IDs and map this ID to say author ID is that ID. I think that's right. I would need to surround this in parentheses. Let's let formatting take that. Doesn't like something about this. Let me do some formatting by myself real quick so I can figure out what's going on. Or map this out. Oh, we just need a close bracket, I think. There we go. So we want to find something where our query now is going to check to make sure the object ID matches and they're in one of these author IDs. So pretty much if the user doesn't have access to it, they won't be able to get it. So yeah. I guess we could probably send a 401 versus a 404 here. I'll just skip that for now. Let's jump into get posts. We're going to want to do something very similar here, so I'll just keep things side by side. Let's just grab these. Boom. Boom. Let's import Mongo user. So let me make this a little smaller. Can y'all still see all right? I think y'all can see all right. If that's too small, let me know. There we go. We have our acceptable author IDs, and we're just going to do this thing right here. So we don't care about the actual object ID here. In this previous example, we're providing an ID via the route. This one, we're just saying, give me all the anything that matches. So we can just say, give me anything with an author that is someone I have access to. I'll get rid of this console log for now. Save this, so restart, and we can rerun our tests, and let's see if this fixes stuff. Boom, all greens. That's a great feeling. That's what we do this for. All right, so that's one issue. I want to add some more stuff onto this test. So right now, we're kind of seeding. Put some comments in here for now. We probably want to do this as functions eventually, but for now, I'll just say comment. We'll say, well, here we are logging into test user. Here we're asserting only has access to friends. Cool. So now let's actually copy some stuff from up here. So we're going to go into create post, and we're going to make some stuff. Copy. This would be a good function too. But here we'll say, let's say add a post, and let's say this post is was added during our test. Just copy this. So we want to make sure that's the same content down below. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then I want to log out and back in as our friend user. All right, so if we go into, we'll just take this right here, paste it in, bring my seed stuff over here. So we want to go in as our test friend. So we'll type in the test friends. Is that there? Oh, no, that's their name. Let's get their username. Here. Let me click something out over here. There we go. For the password is just password. Just go like that. Click, contains. This is just test friend. Right. So now we can assert they see all posts, including the newly made one. So we'll come through here. Should really see the same kind of stuff, right? So should contain friends, test friends, should blah blah blah. Cool. This should be visible, should not contain that, and then we should also expect this one, because this is the one we added. Let's make sure. I think this should probably succeed still. So if we come over here, let's see, what did we fail? Get username. Oh, did we not log out? Yeah, we never logged out. Let's grab that little code from up here. And this would all be better as functions. I don't want to get too crazy with it though. Let's log out first before trying to log in. There we go. So here's the original user. They made the post. Did all this stuff. Oh, we were expecting, making sure they saw test friend in here. They should actually see test name. Wait, no. Test friend. H2 should hold test friend, but our friend list should have test user here, not the test friend. There you go. Let's make sure that works. So the cool thing, I think, oh, let's see, what are we looking at here? Oh, test user. If we look at our user, yeah, we need this, not the test user. Yeah, I just had a bad name there. Get that one. There we go. Save. All right. So the cool thing about this is that, like, this is kind of the stuff we would be doing anyways. Like if we're just testing, like not unit testing, but actually just running our code, serving it to test to make sure things are kind of working. So now by doing this, we kind of have it automated. We could just have the computer run it. which is nicer. Okay, so this all works. I think we have, I wanted to do, so we have this. Let's hit this as done. We're logging out and logging in as the friended user. This is done, everything's passing. So now we're here. We're trying to, so we started as our user, logged out and went to a friend, and we saw very similar things. Now I want to log out from that friend and go to the unfriended user. And we should see very little here. Like they should have no one in their friends list. They should only be able to see the one post they made. So let's write that test out. And I'm going to guess right now that this test will actually fail because of the NGRX reason I had mentioned before. So let's see. I'm not actually sure of that. I didn't get that far in between sessions. So let's see. Let's pull up the seeding file again. Make sure I get everything right for this user. So here's their username. Copy that. Their password is just password still, so this should contain test non-friend. Cool. And then let's go back to here. So for this user, this should not contain the test name, should not contain the test friend. Remember, this user doesn't have any friends, so they shouldn't see anything in the friend list. If we look at there, so this pre-represents sort of the post list. So each one of these that should not contain. This should be visible. This should not contain. Should also be visible. This one should actually contain. I think we could just do it that way. And this last one, so it's kind of like we're flipping them all. This should not contain. There we go. I think that's all we need. So let's save this and let's go see how this test runs over here. First one passed, second one kind of running through. I think we just hit our failure. Yep. All right, so if we look at where we're failing, we got to the point in our sort of test recipe here where we saw our friend's username be listed. We got our friend list, but we expected it to not contain friend names. So we have friends in our friend list that we shouldn't see. I'm pretty sure the reason for this is when we log out, like I had said earlier, we did verify that we're clearing out the access token. However, the NGRX, the effects are, well, not the effects, it's the reducer that we're going to have to touch up a little bit. Excuse me. So on a logout event, like a logout succeeded or really a logout failed, we're going to have to add a reducer to, I think, our friends or our users reducer and to our content post reducer to make sure we're clearing things out on a logout. Because otherwise someone could log in and they could potentially see stuff they shouldn't see just because that stuff is still in the store. And so we'll see when we logged into our friend user, it actually wasn't a problem because the only friends that our two users had were each other. But when we logged into our non-friend, we started to see a bunch of stuff we shouldn't. So let's go touch those things up. So if we go to our, I think it's our user reducer. Here we go. So here we just have on the retrieve users succeeded. We're upserting many. So now we're going to add some stuff to on logout failed or a logout succeeded. Either way, either event, the user is indicating they want to log out. We are going to have a reducer function here that takes a state, and that's really all we care about because we want to users entity adapter dot remove all. Perfect. And pass in the state. There we go. Let's hit save on that. I think that should clear out half of the problem here. Let's rerun the test. Did I finish building? Yeah. Let's rerun the test. So first one's still green. Second one, expect us to get like one step further. Okay, so we did get one step further. We got into our friends list. We made sure there was no friends in there. However, when we get to our list here, we need to do the same thing for our content post. So right now, it's actually, I'm pretty sure what's happening here. And, I think we probably missed this. Yeah, we missed it. Let's rerun. We should be able to see everything happen here. But if we look at our very last content post, so this one right here, when they got the response from content posts, they only got, let's see the preview. Let me just make this full screen. No, it's not going to be better. So we can see at least we only got one content post. We got back from the API what we expected to get. We're just having a problem on the client. It's the same thing for the friends list. So I think that pretty much proves my hypothesis. So we're just going to go fix that same way we did here. Let's go to our content post reducer. So here we'll add on login succeeded or login failed. We'll take some state and we'll call, so here we need the content post entity adapter. NGRX entity is so awesome for this, but we'll just hit here, remove all, pass in the state. There we go. So let's do that and let's rerun. I think we should see everything pass here. So I don't know what we're going to do with the rest of the stream, y'all. I started like 15 minutes late and we're going to finish 15 minutes early, and this is after going half an hour early last time. But yeah, we can see, boom, green lights all the way down. This is awesome. This is the kind of like development environment I really enjoy working on. So I can kind of say, start out before we even go in. Here's our tests. Let's make them go green. Then it's almost like gamifying it a little for me. I know it's also a really good way of organizing it, but I'm such a nerd for games. This makes it easier. There we go. Let's check the markdown file. I think we already hit everything we wanted to do today. Expect to see the only post. Let's hit this as done. Fix our content posts. Yeah, hit this. And fix the NGRX to discard users' posts on logout. Let's hit this as done. Cool. So let's take a look. We got some extra time. Let's see if we can just take a look at the depth graph, because we added some modules recently. We haven't looked at this depth graph in a while. Let's see how things are looking. Oh, not NS. Get out of here. What is NS? Nope. I'm getting all kinds of weird packages in here. Ooh. Okay, depth graph started. Let me switch over here and bring this window in. Let's hit select all just to see how crazy we've gotten so far. Let's go like so. Okay, I mean that's not too bad. So we can see sort of there's this overarching at the top level is our E2E test. Has an implicit dependency on our web client as well as the API. This is important because we want to make sure if there's so we kind of added this line here to the API, and this is important because we want to make sure it's kind of I'd say it's easier in NX than in any other environment I've ever worked in or any other strategy I've ever worked in for these things to get out of sync, but it's still possible. Like there's kind of technically this implicit dependency between our front-end content posts and the back-end content post module. We don't see a direct dependency there because they're not importing any code, but really like stuff in here, our service in here is going to be affected if this starts doing stuff different. I don't want to draw that line there though, because I don't know, it's like if the backend content post changes in any way, in most ways, if we can preserve like the public API of this, it's fine. Like I don't need to retest this. Like we kind of want to make sure, probably would want some unit tests on this to make sure, even if it changes stuff up, if we refactor it a little bit, still return the same stuff. But at the very least, when we get around to setting up CI and CD, we're going to run our end-to-end tests and make sure these things work. So even though there's not a direct line between these two, if either of these two get touched, we would mark these things as affected and kind of go from there. Actually, let's show this. How do we show this? Do I have to add the affected at the command line? Let's see. So -- affected. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Let's try it again. Select all. No, I'm not seeing the red lines. Let's see if we can find it on nx.dev. Let's see if we can just search for depth graph and see affected depth graph. NX affected : okay. Can do. So let's get rid of that. So this is affected : Our docs are so great. Okay. We're going to select all. So this is just, so every day I have been in between our sessions, I've been just posting up how far we've gotten as a commit. So each day is a separate commit. That's kind of the way we're treating this repo. And I'm also pushing it up to GitHub, so if you ever want to check out what we're doing, feel free to go up there and grab it. But the result of that is the red lines here are the things we've touched today. So you can see we touched our front end friends, we touched our front end content posts, we didn't directly touch our web client app, but we can see that these were affected, so anything trickling upstream from it should be affected too. So what this affected does for us is it kind of lets us not test some things that don't need to be tested, right? So like if I were in a CI process right now and I just push this commit up and we decided we're going to run the whole CI/CD, test everything, run all our unit tests, run all our end-to-end tests, and then like kick off a build to send this off to production. We could, like, normally if you're in a mono repo, you kind of have to do it all. Like you have to run every single unit test suite for every single one of these nodes in this graph, and you'd have to like run every single E2E test. But we can see just from what we've affected in our stuff, we only need to, for the work we just did, and this wasn't planned. This is just kind of the normal impact. We can see it affected only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nodes. So that's only 6 things we need to run. We can even see too our to-dos web client and our to-dos API were not affected in any way by these changes. So we can kind of just, like, we wouldn't even have to deploy either of these apps here. We could just say, okay, nothing affected here, just keep out their current versions. So yeah, so this is a way we can run things so that we can only rebuild what we need to rebuild. So that's cool. Distributed caching is a whole nother layer on top of this, where my machine can now share some stored information on things we have tested with other machines, so that if you happen to like run a unit test on this front end friends module right here, we could cache that and send it out to the distributed cloud, and then anyone else who tries to run this test on the same on the same source code, it wouldn't even actually run. It just would use the cached values, the cached result. So that's pretty cool. Let's focus in. Let's just focus in on the our web client E2E. I think this will give. It's still a bit much, but no, I think that's fine. We can kind of think about things here. So the thing I want to think about is right now we have our front end friends. And this front end friends actually has a reducer inside it called the users reducer. We also have this auth module over here that is holding our current user. I think at some point I'll probably want to add a front end users module. So that's just going to hold what the users are. And we'd also have then, so our friends then would just be a list of IDs really for which of those users are our friends. Because really, if we think about it, if we think about a typical social media app, we don't restrict people to only know if you're not friends with someone, you don't really restrict people from even knowing that person exists. Like, you still want to let them know that they exist, but you probably only want to share like maybe their name and maybe their picture, and that's it. Like, none of their posts still. You don't want to see any of that, but you do want to be able to know about that person. So probably a good idea to keep some of that information at some baser level, so we can say, here's all of our users. These ones are friends. This one's you, actually. Maybe we can do something like that. I want to get started on that today because that's a whole can of worms, but it's just something we can think about while we're looking at this depth graph. And let's see, where's that depth graph go? Let's take a look at our to-dos. So So our to-dos from everything we've been doing here, I think we've been maintaining pretty good, like our modular stuff is pretty well maintained. And we can see that because like if you think about the work we actually did today, right? Like we adjusted the way friends are stored so that we're clearing them out. That's pretty much all we did there. We adjusted content posts so that they're being cleared out. None of those things, like those are both things that are very specific to the RCircle web client and not in any way specific to this front end auth. I do want to say, so if we did imagine some users in here where that users just contained everything about users. So I almost wonder, let's just hit localhost here. So even though I'm running the sort of the Cypress thing, we can still kind of go to localhost here and still look at stuff. So nothing's stopping us from doing things that way. But if I want to inspect here, let's just look at our Redux dev tool so we can kind of visualize this. Let's log in. What was my test user? Let's see. Username. No, I don't want the friend. Let's just use this one. Password is test password. I can remember that. So paste this in. Test password. Submit. Login failed. Why did this login fail? I wonder, is this still pointed? Let's see what happened there exactly. Oh, we got this kind of bogus. Okay. Let's try. I wonder. That one failed too. Should I grab the right username? Oh, definitely didn't. That's why. I was wondering for a second there if we ran it outside of the Cypress context, would it still use a different environment variable? I guess that's kind of silly to think even, but and the password was test password. I think that should work. Okay, that worked. So if we look at our Redux now, let's just look at the whole state. So we can see. Let's make this even bigger. Yeah. So the way the state ends up looking, we have our content posts here. So here's all of our entities, and they're kind of sorted by ID. But here we go. We really need to get some real components up for these content posts at some point too, because right now, like the author ID, like we're seeing it, but we really need, like we've got all the information we need to map this over. But the thing I'm thinking about is if we had our auth right here, right? We'd have the ID. I guess we could have their name in here too, but if we look at the users and the entities stored in users, I'd really want for ourself as a user to just kind of be in here, because then we could just say, like for this author ID, for example, we don't really want, like we don't want to show the user what that author ID is. That's a pretty terrible user experience. What we really want to do is probably just show their name, and maybe even their picture at some point down the line. So really what we do is we use a selector here, pass it from, it's this sort of more raw data to maybe build an interface that says this is what our content post UI needs to look like. We'll need a author name, an author picture, probably still keep that author ID just so we could pass that data around. But we never want to show that to the user really. We'd still care about when it was created. This ID here probably wouldn't want to show, but we might want to use that for sending back to our APIs. So maybe we'll send that stuff through too. But the thing I'm trying to get at is if we look at the dependency chart here, if we look at the modules we set up, I'm worried about changing this auth module, because if we change this auth module, so really like the only thing it should hold is, am I logged in, or what's my login status? Am I logged in, yes or no, and or is it pending? And then it should hold like a user ID, and that user ID should kind of point to this other thing. So If I do that though, I'm going to affect this to-dos app. Like our to-dos app at that point is going to need like a users module as well. Because otherwise it's not going to even, like I wouldn't even know my name to show inside of our to-dos app. So just something to think about. I think we probably will want to do just like an auth slice versus a user slice and just say, well, this will affect the to-dos. But at least knowing that it will affect our to-dos app is something worth knowing. It's something that gets lost, I think, sometimes if we're not using like an NX repo. So yeah, it's kind of my spiel for today. I want to take us, I'm not sure for next time what we'll want to do. We can kind of look to add in this users slice as opposed to the friend slice. I guess it's really adding a friend slice as opposed to a user slice. That may be good actually. We'll probably go that way, and then maybe we can look at developing a component for actually displaying a content post. Because we're getting to a point in our app where we're starting to get some more sophisticated like actual behavior here. Why is this not weird? But we still have a pretty standard unappealing UI, so we can start by at least starting with some content post basic stuff, and we'll go from there. I'd love to. I'm not much for design, but I'd love to get someone in here, maybe a friend, and just look at, okay, let's start up some basic design stuff for this. And we can decide, maybe we can use Material or Bootstrap or something like that and just kind of get started. But know that we can always change things up a little bit down the line. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming by. Sorry for the late start, and we got our friends in. Folks, and we got our tests, and we got our nice green lights. I'll show that before logging off. Look at those greens. It's beautiful. All right, thanks all for stopping by. We'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye now.